Hello team, welcome to another ATP Geopolitics video with myself, Jonathan MS Pearce. This is Ukraine War, I guess, breaking news update for the 2nd of April 2024, a little bit later than I was planning on being today, holidays and all that, with children and whatnot. Okay, there has been a significant shift in capability for the Ukrainians as they have hit last night some targets deep within inside Russia. This comes on the back of Fedorov saying, so he's Mikhailo Fedorov, minister in charge of digital affairs, I think. He the other day announced that Ukraine has attack drones with a range of over 1,000 kilometers. This is a new, I guess it's just a little bit further than previous attack drones. So it's not categorically different, but we are seeing this evolution of drone capability increase the range significantly over time, and Ukraine has the ability now to strike targets well uh, inside Russia, to the point where these places would have been deemed incredibly safe previously, and now they are not. Indeed, last night some were hit. So, quote, most of the drones that attacked Russian oil refineries have a range of 700 to 1,000 kilometers, but now there are models that can fly over 1,000 kilometers. And actually, these drones appear to be planes, autonomous planes, really, judging by the size of them. Anyway, what happened last night? Well, there were some attacks that CNN are now reporting that have been made possible by the use of drones with longer ranges and more advanced capabilities, some of which have even begun to integrate a basic form of artificial intelligence to help them navigate and avoid being jammed. So some Russians are asking, how is it that something the size of basically a plane has got 1,100 kilometers into Russian territory without being acquired as a target and shot down? I mean, we're talking an awful long way away. That's a map there. So this morning's drone attacks on Yelabuga and Nizhnekamsk in Tatarstan are by all accounts the deepest into Russian territory since the start of the war. So past Kazan, and really significant there, almost getting to Yekaterinburg, which is one of the main cities over towards the east. So let's have a look at what Special Kherson says in describing everything that's happened. So tonight, Ukrainian kamikaze drones of a new model attacked the Shahid 136 production plant in Russia, as well as the Nizhnekamsk oil refinery. Both are located more than 1,100 kilometers from the front line. So I'm just trying to work out whether these are just really close to each other, these two sites. But anyway, this is what you can see in terms of the, I guess, plane drone coming in there. And then it comes down and there's a massive explosion. I won't show you that. Now, notice where it's hit. I actually think this is, to be honest, a bit of a missed opportunity for the Ukrainians. This drone has, and it was a pretty sizable explosion. So had this happened at, say, an oil refinery, where there's some explosive fuels, I mean, this would have been a really significant hit. You know, the explosion was fairly sizable. So the Shahid plant is located in Yelabuga, Tatarstan region of Russia, 1,150 kilometers from the front line. The drone hit the area of dormitories where factory workers live, which is located near the Shahid plant itself. In other words, I don't think there was all that much damage done by this drone striking. And in fact, I would assume the production facility is able to continue working regardless. So I think that's a real missed opportunity there. We'll look a little bit more in detail at where that hit. But the Tanco Oil Refinery in Nizhnekamsk, where we have far less information, is no doubt would have suffered greater, I think, long-term damage if the strike was, anywhere near the facilities and the infrastructure. So also, the oil refinery is also in the Tatarstan region of Russia, 1,125 kilometers from the front line. In 2023, it was planned to process more than 18 million tons of oil at this Tanco plant. It is known that in 2022, the production of petroleum products amounted to 16 million tons there. So I presume that is where it's hit. But this is a very large establishment. And therefore, well, I've been in two minds about this. I look at something like that and think, wow, imagine if you had like 10 drones hitting that at once rather than one drone. If one drone can get through, 10 drones can get through. So why haven't they hit it with 10 drones? Well, they probably don't have those big drones that can go 1,125 kilometers. They don't have too many of them. But also, because I think that there's probably so much in integration of all the parts of this plant that if you take out one part of the plant, you effectively take out the whole plant. They all do different things, but it's all part of the overall process. And if you take out one part of the process, then you are taking out all parts of the process to some degree. It's all kind of a flow chart, right? And you take out one element of the flow chart, it stops flowing. And so it could be that one big drone hit on this plant or any similar plant will cause as much interruption as 10 hits. The only difference being that one hit will be quicker to fix than 10 hits. But it stops that petroleum being refined just as much as 10 hits might do. That's my thinking. And so rather than having 10 hits at once, you can have one hit and then a few weeks, maybe a month later, another hit once it's fixed up, and you can have the same amount of disruption. So I wonder if that's the thinking of the Ukrainians there. Right, moving on. It's noticeable that during this attack, drones of a new model were used. Nothing is known about its characteristics besides the fact that it has a range which is at least a couple of hundred kilometers more than the maximum range of the Ukrainian kamikaze Lyutsyi, which we saw previously used. That's the one with the twin tails and a propeller at the back, and that was used on the oil refineries recently, largely that drone. Not this one. This is a new aeroplane-sized drone. Anyway. Moving on. The only thing that is noted is that the new kamikaze drone somewhat looks like the Aeropract A-22, which is a Ukrainian two-seat, high-wing, tricycle landing gear ultra-light aircraft, which possibly became the basis for the new kamikaze drone. You would think it would make a lot of sense to use what you've already got and turn that into an autonomous, or well, if it is using AI, then it might be somewhat autonomous drone. Precise geolocation of the site of the Tanco Oil Refinery. As you can see, it's a big old refinery, but one place there has been hit. So I guess we'll see what the overall damage is going forward. Apparently, it's a joint operation between the SBU and the GUR, so military intelligence involved here. The capacity of the installation was 8 million tons of oil, which is 2.6% of the total annual processing of the Russian Federation per year. So a significant single hit potentially if it did do the damage we hope it's done. And this is some footage of it could well be just an aircraft flying over the oil refinery in Tatarstan, or it's the drone. More likely the drone there. Although this is in the daytime, so just not quite sure what's going on. But anyway, some footage of something that looks very much like that plane, and then it starts dipping. Just at the end of the footage, the plane definitely seems to take a downward turn, just about there. Yeah, it's definitely going down. So that does look like the drone. Russia's most important defense factories have had zero air defense, says Thomas Steiner. So a small plane can be used to strike the factory. Russia is a nation led by Mormons, clans, and dunce as well. It's obviously being a little bit harsh there, but at the end of the day, Russia doesn't have the air defenses really to be completely successful in defending its entire front line and key installations in, say, Crimea, Novorossiysk, places near Ukraine. So how's it going to defend all of these disparate facilities throughout the whole of the massive country, geographically speaking, of Russia, the Russian Federation? They are in, I think, well, they're facing, as I've said before, a massive dilemma. With that blanket that's too small for the bed, where do you pull the blanket? What do you protect and what do you leave vulnerable? As such, the Russians are nervous. This is a translation of a Russian source. This is, of course, not Rust and Alabuga, not Red Square, but practically a small aircraft flying. I don't really know what the first line means. 1,200 kilometers, which was not seen not only by military air defense, but also by civilian air traffic controllers. this is probably too much. So definitely worried about what this means, and whether that you'll start to see more of these, and whether the Russians will be completely unable to spot these drones. Because at the end of the day, when you are going that far, you've got many options for what paths you take, and you can send an aircraft fairly low over, I assume, large swathes of land that are barely inhabited. It's such is the size of the country. And so it might be relatively easy to conduct a mission like that. Another translation here, interesting information from Russian media about the Alabuga and Tatarstan in Russia. So, after the start of the full-scale war between Russia and Ukraine in the special economic zone Alabuga in Tatarstan, mass production of Iranian attack drones, the Shahid drone, was organised, the assembly of which involved students of the Alabuga Polytech College. This is stated in the investigation of journalists from the publication Protocol and the YouTube channel RZVRT. Alabuga Polytech is an educational institution that promises students the opportunity to master professions of the future and earn up to 70,000 rubles a month. According to journalists, the salary to the students involved in the production of drones depend on the implementation of the plan. On average, they receive 30 to 40,000 rubles a month. At the same time, students that said that sometimes they have to, so on and so forth. It goes on. Well, actually, there is a video of that here. So Russia is using 15 to 17-year-old kids to make Iranian drones in Tatarstan, drones that Russia will use to kill Ukrainian kids. Alabuga has no janitors or loaders. Russia employs Tajik and African students to do this. Welcome to Russia, or better say, back to slavery, says Victoria back in August last year. But anyway, this is based on this investigation done by journalists that looks at these students going in, working in this institution, in this facility. I'm not going to go through it. I mean, there's lots to talk about there. I might see if it's worth going through in an extra. But yeah, they have no staff, as it says, no janitors, just students doing that. So it is a kind of form of slave labor, isn't it? Getting their Shahid drones manufactured. What I think Rob Lee saying in one of his parts here, that indeed, yeah, I did have something. Yeah, the explosion seen in the videos being shared wasn't at the drone factory. The drone production is in the two buildings on the left. So it looks like it took out those dormitories, as we can see here, but actually not really doing, in my opinion, enough damage to the production of drones, I would suspect. Nonetheless, it is telling the Russians something, and how the Russians react is, I guess, still we're still yet to see, whether they'll park a load of air defense units there and therefore take them away from somewhere else, and then Ukraine can hit somewhere else, or whether they are unable to do so and Ukraine can just hit these again when they build some more of those long distance drones. Anyway, that's all I have for you for this breaking news piece. I wanted to keep my news piece a bit shorter, so most of the content for this activity will be found in this video, and I'll refer you back to this in my first news video of the day. Anyway, thanks for watching. Take care. Speak soon.